The fastest way to lose power is not weakness. Weakness is obvious. People see it coming. But the real danger is subtle, silent, invisible. It happens in a single moment, a moment where nothing seems to change, yet everything does. People still smile at you. They still talk politely. They still laugh at your jokes. But inside, a decision has already been made. How seriously to take you, how much they can push you, how little your words now weigh. This is how respect actually dies. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, in the mind of the observer. And the most dangerous part? You almost never realize when it happens, because respect is not lost over time. It collapses instantly, like glass. Most people believe respect is built through consistency, through kindness, through being reasonable. They are wrong. Respect is not moral. It is psychological. It is not earned through intentions, but through perception. And perception is shaped in moments of pressure, a challenge, a confrontation, a misunderstanding, an accusation, a test. This is where the invisible respect killer appears. Not in what you say, but in why you say it. Here is the mistake. The one mistake that collapses authority instantly. The moment you explain yourself to someone who has not earned that explanation. The moment you defend your intentions, clarify your motives, justify your actions. The moment you rush to be understood. That moment, respect begins to rot. Because explanation is not neutral. Explanation is a signal, and the signal it sends is this: I need you to see me a certain way. I need your approval. I am uncomfortable with your judgment. Powerful people never do this, not because they are cruel, but because they understand human nature. Machiavelli warned that power is not destroyed by enemies alone. It is destroyed by the behavior of the one who holds it. Men collapse their own authority, trying to prove they deserve it. History is full of men who lost respect, not because they were wrong, but because they reacted. Take King Louis XVI of France. He was not hated at first. He was not weak in title. But when challenged, he explained. He justified. He negotiated with those who smelled hesitation. Each concession taught the crowd something dangerous. That pressure worked. That authority could be bent. That the crown needed approval. And once that lesson was learned, respect evaporated. Not because the people were evil, but because the king taught them how to treat him. This is the rule most men never learn. People don't disrespect you because they are bad. They disrespect you because you teach them how. Every time you over-explain, you lower your rank. Every time you rush to clarify, you reveal insecurity. Every time you apologize for your presence, you invite judgment, and judgment always precedes disrespect. Notice how dominant figures behave when misunderstood. They don't chase clarity. They let silence do the work. Because silence creates asymmetry. Silence says, I am not on trial. I don't need to be understood. I decide my position, not you. This unsettles people, because humans instinctively respect what does not beg to be validated. Think about Napoleon Bonaparte. He was not physically imposing. He did not shout. He did not explain himself to every critic. He issued decisions, not arguments. When challenged, he did not defend his ego. He let results speak. And when results speak, explanations become irrelevant. This is why leaders rarely argue, and why explainers rarely lead. The average man does the opposite. When questioned, he panics internally. His mind races. They misunderstood me. I need to fix this. I need to explain. So he talks. He justifies. He clarifies. He reveals emotion. And with every sentence, his authority bleeds out. Because explanation places you below the judge. It assumes they have the right to evaluate you, and once you accept that frame, you lose. This is why respect once lost is almost impossible to recover. Because logic does not restore status. Behavior does. And behavior must change completely. You cannot explain your way back into dominance. You must become unreadable again. There is a dark truth here most people resist. Being good does not protect you. In fact, excessive goodness attracts exploitation. Because predators do not hunt strength. They hunt predictability. They hunt transparency. They hunt men who show their cards too early. The moment you reveal your inner world, your fears, intentions, emotional reasoning, you give people leverage. They learn where to press, where to provoke, where to extract reactions. And reactions are weakness, not because emotion is bad, but because uncontrolled emotion signals lack of command. Powerful people feel everything. They just don't show it, because they understand this principle. The one who reacts is never in control. The one who observes always is. Once people sense they can trigger you, they stop respecting you. Not consciously, instinctively. Their tone changes, their boundaries soften, their boldness increases. They push because you showed them it was safe to do so. And here is the most painful realization. Most people lose respect trying to be fair. Fairness feels noble, but fairness is often read as weakness, because fairness says, I don't want conflict. I want mutual understanding. I want balance. Power does not operate on balance. It operates on leverage. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He warned that men who try to be good in all circumstances will be destroyed by those who are not. Not because goodness is evil, but because goodness without boundaries is suicidal. The invisible respect killer is not cruelty. It is overexposure. It is emotional nakedness in hostile environments. It is explaining yourself to people who are measuring you, not listening to you. Once you understand this, everything changes. You stop speaking so much. You stop defending. You stop correcting perceptions. You let people believe what they want, while you control what matters. Because respect is not restored through persuasion. It is restored through presence. This is the point of no return. Once you see how respect truly works, you can never unsee it. Every interaction becomes a test. Every response becomes a signal. And you realize something unsettling. Most men were never disrespected. They volunteered for it. And if respect can be destroyed in a moment, then power must be built in silence. Because respect is not random. And it is not moral. It is engineered. Most men never realize this because they were taught a comforting lie, that people respect kindness, that respect comes from being liked, that morality creates authority. History says otherwise. Power has never belonged to the most virtuous. It has belonged to the most controlled. Machiavelli understood something deeply unsettling. People do not follow what is good. They follow what is strong. And strength, in the psychological sense, is not aggression. It is unavailability. The inability to be moved, rattled, or emotionally pulled into another person's frame. This is where true respect is born. Here is the first truth powerful men internalize. People respect power before they justify it morally. This is why tyrants are feared before they are hated. Why leaders are obeyed before they are admired. Why dominant figures are followed even when they are criticized. The mind bows first. Morality comes later. Take Genghis Khan. He was not respected because he was kind. He was respected because he was inevitable. Cities surrendered before battles began, not because of his speeches, but because resistance felt pointless. This is the highest form of respect, when opposition dissolves before it even forms, not through cruelty, but through certainty. This leads to Machiavelli's most controversial principle. It is safer to be feared than loved, not because fear is desirable, but because love is unstable. Love depends on emotion, fear depends on consequence, and humans are wired to respect what carries consequence. Love fades when it is inconvenient. Respect born from fear endures pressure. This is why people abandon kind leaders under stress, but obey firm ones even when they complain. Fear does not mean terror. It means calculated restraint. It means people sense there is a line, and crossing it has a cost. Weak men remove consequences. They explain. They forgive endlessly. They tolerate disrespect to keep peace. And in doing so, they train others to disrespect them. Powerful men do the opposite. They let uncertainty linger. They let silence answer challenges. They do not rush to repair tension, because tension is leverage. Look at Queen Elizabeth I. Surrounded by rivals, traitors, and enemies, she revealed little, promised rarely, forgave selectively. Her greatest weapon was not armies, it was emotional opacity. No one knew where they stood with her, and that uncertainty kept everyone careful. Careful people are respectful people. This brings us to emotional detachment. Not coldness, not cruelty, detachment. The ability to observe without reacting. This is the trait manipulators fear most, because manipulation requires emotion. When you do not react, their leverage disappears. The moment someone cannot read you, they cannot control you. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you reclaim authority. The moment you withhold emotional access, your value rises. This is why powerful people appear calm under pressure. It is not confidence, it is discipline. Another brutal truth. Respect grows where access is limited. The more available you are, the less valuable you become. The more predictable your responses, the easier you are to manage. Scarcity creates gravity. This applies to attention, approval, words, presence. Notice how leaders speak. Short sentences, no emotional spillover, no justification. They issue conclusions, not thought processes. Because revealing your reasoning gives others something to attack. Powerful figures let others guess. Guessing creates submission. This is why explainers lose authority, because explanation places you on equal ground, and power never lives on equal ground. Hierarchy is uncomfortable, but it is natural. Every group unconsciously organizes itself by dominance. Pretending otherwise does not eliminate hierarchy. It only makes you fall to the bottom of it. Machiavelli warned against the illusion of equality. He knew men crave structure. Someone to follow, someone to fear, someone to challenge. When you deny this reality, others assign you a role anyway, and it is rarely the one you want. Here is the silent rule of respect. The person who needs less controls more, needs less approval, less explanation, less validation. Detachment is not emptiness, it is leverage. Once people realize you do not need them to agree with you, their behavior changes. They listen more carefully. They choose words cautiously. They test less, because they sense something dangerous. You cannot be moved. This is how respect is built. Not by demanding it, not by earning it through effort, but by embodying it, through restraint, through silence, through consequence. And now comes the uncomfortable realization. Most men were not disrespected because they lacked value. They were disrespected because they gave it away. They offered access too early, forgiveness too freely, emotion too openly, and power slipped through their fingers. This shows you why most people never had it to begin with. because they were playing by moral rules in a psychological game. And now, the final step remains. Understanding power is not enough. You must become someone who cannot lose it, someone whose presence sets the frame before words are ever spoken. That transformation begins now. Understanding power is not power. Most men stop here. They learn concepts. They quote Machiavelli. They repeat ideas. But they still react. They still explain. They still seek approval. They still fear being misunderstood. And so nothing changes. Because respect is not something you know. It is something you become. Power begins when the need for validation dies. The moment you no longer care how you are perceived, people begin to perceive you differently. This is not confidence. Confidence still needs an audience. This is independence from judgment, and independence is threatening. The ruthless mindset starts with one internal decision. I will never again explain myself to be accepted. Not because you are right, not because you are superior, but because your value does not require consensus. The powerful do not ask permission to exist. Weak men fear silence. They rush to fill it. They speak to ease tension. They clarify to reduce discomfort. Powerful men let silence expand, because silence creates gravity. The one who is comfortable in silence controls the emotional temperature of the room. Ruthlessness is not cruelty. It is precision. It is knowing when warmth is leverage and when it is weakness. Most men are warm all the time, and therefore respected none of the time. There are moments when kindness increases power, and moments when it destroys it. The ruthless mind sees the difference. It gives warmth selectively, which makes warmth valuable. Here is the rule. Never reward disrespect with explanation. Never reward challenge with emotion. Never reward provocation with reaction. Reaction is surrender. When challenged, the ruthless do not escalate. They minimize. Short answers, neutral tone, no emotional reveal. This unsettles the challenger. Because dominance is not aggression. It is non-participation. History shows this again and again. Look at Otto von Bismarck. Surrounded by hostile powers, he did not argue emotionally. He did not moralize. He waited. He allowed others to exhaust themselves, and then moved decisively. Patience is a weapon when you are unmoved. The ruthless mindset understands something painful. You cannot save your image and your power at the same time. Trying to look good forces you to behave weakly. Power accepts being misunderstood. In fact, it often prefers it. This is why powerful figures allow rumors, allow criticism, allow dislike. Because correction lowers you to the level of the critic. Silence leaves them shouting into nothing. Once respect is lost, it is not restored by apology. It is restored by pattern interruption. You change how you respond, how available you are, how predictable you are. People recalibrate automatically because they sense something has shifted. The ruthless know when to withdraw, not dramatically, not emotionally. They reduce access. They shorten responses. They remove attention. And suddenly, the balance of power flips. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who can walk away without explanation. Walking away is not avoidance. It is dominance, because it shows you do not need the outcome. Need is weakness. Detachment is leverage. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who can walk away without explanation. Walking away is not avoidance. It is dominance, because it shows you do not need the outcome. Need is weakness. Detachment is leverage. Machiavelli warned that men cling to what they fear losing, and the one who fears losing least controls most. This applies to relationships, to negotiations, to status, to life. When people realize you are willing to leave, they treat you differently. because power flows toward the one who can afford to say no. This is how you become untouchable. Not feared loudly, but respected quietly. Your presence alone sets boundaries. Your silence answers challenges. Your restraint signals consequence. You no longer chase clarity. You allow ambiguity. You no longer defend your intentions. You let outcomes speak. You no longer seek to be liked. You let others adjust. This is the final transformation. From reactive to composed, from transparent to unreadable, from eager to inevitable. Most men live their lives trying to prove their worth. The ruthless live as if their worth is assumed, and others follow that assumption. This is the end of the lesson, and the beginning of a different way of moving through the world, where respect is not requested, it is felt.